You raised your hand in a meeting, and the room went quiet in a way that did not feel like thinking. You told a colleague something in confidence, and 3 days later, it had reached people you never intended. You delivered genuinely excellent work, and the response landed somewhere completely unrelated to its quality. And afterward, you replayed each of those moments and could not find the error, because the room was reading something you did not know you were sending. This video focuses on what actually happens to capable, reasonable people inside workplaces organized around informal social groups. The specific behaviors that quietly increase their exposure without them realizing it. Not because the behaviors are wrong, but because they're being interpreted by rules the person doesn't know exist. Start with overexplaining. Most people assume that walking someone through your reasoning builds trust. The first time you do it in a clique-organized environment, nothing obvious happens. By the third time, something is shifted. The people around you are no longer receiving clarity. They are receiving the signal of someone who needs to justify themselves. And someone who needs to justify themselves starts to read as someone whose judgment may need justifying. You thought you were building confidence in the work. The room was losing confidence in you. You felt the temperature change and could not locate the source. Public correction works the same way. Someone states something inaccurate, you have the right information and you provide it. What goes unaccounted for is that the person you corrected just lost face in front of their colleagues, and you are the person who caused that loss. Accuracy does not change the association. Over time, if this repeats, people stop including you in the informal conversations where real information moves. You read this as the group resisting correction. What actually happened is that the room made a quiet calculation about the cost of being around someone who creates public exposure, made without a conversation, without a warning, and entirely without your knowledge. Silence is the behavior most people misread in themselves. When a conversation carries political weight, blame circulating, senior people in implicit tension, a decision being contested, speaking means taking a position. Taking a position before the outcome is clear means being attached to it if things go wrong. The person who said nothing cannot be placed on the wrong side of something that had not resolved yet. In some rooms that reads as strategic, in others it reads as absence. Either way, you are being read, and one of those readings leaves no record attached to your name. Think about the last time you vented to someone at work. Not dramatically, just honestly. A frustration, a concern, something that needed to be said out loud to someone who would understand. What you did not calculate is that the person you told is inside the same network, managing their own position, making their own decisions about what they carry and where. The information entered their world and traveled according to their relationships, not your intention. It arrived somewhere in a form you would not recognize, still attached to your name. You did not leak the information. You handed it to a network. Documentation feels like protection. Keeping records of decisions and agreed responsibilities is rational. What gets missed is what the behavior communicates to the people around it. In an environment where informal trust is what people actually run on, someone who consistently follows verbal agreements with written confirmations, saves threads, takes visible notes after conversations, that person is being read as preparing for conflict. You believed you were being organized. The people being documented experienced themselves as suspects. The relationship changed before any formal event occurred. The cause was never a conversation. It was a signal you did not know you were sending. Helpfulness has a trap inside it that almost nobody sees in time. The most available person, the one who absorbs additional work and steps in reliably when something needs doing, in a functional environment, that person is building value. In a clique-organized environment, they are often building exposure without cover. Their work gets absorbed. Their reliability becomes an assumption. And when something goes wrong on a project they contributed to, they are among the most exposed. Present enough to carry accountability, not embedded enough for their role to be reframed by the people with the standing to do it. You were accumulating involvement without accumulating the social protection that determines how involvement gets interpreted when things go sideways. Working purely on output has a visibility problem that almost never gets named. The work was real. The room where it would have mattered never heard it. The people making advancement decisions are drawing on informal impressions built through proximity and repeated casual contact. Spaces that have nothing to do with deliverables. Someone whose presence is exclusively formal exists in the official record and nowhere else. Results matter, they are not sufficient. The network where names get mentioned before opportunities are posted is not built in meetings. It is built in the spaces between them, and pure output does not get you into those spaces. There are signals that someone is drifting toward the outsider position before anything formal confirms it. Replies get shorter and slower. They start learning about decisions through official channels, while colleagues already knew through conversation. Their contributions get acknowledged without being built on, heard, noted, set aside. And then the signal that matters most. Other people's mistakes get handled differently from theirs. Someone else's error gets absorbed quietly, contextualized, managed within the group. Their error generates a follow-up, a process conversation, a formal note. When error handling becomes asymmetric, the social position is already asymmetric. The formal consequence, if it comes, is months behind the reality that produced it. Most people spend those months working harder. Output was never where the gap was being measured. The workplace that appeared to be reacting randomly was not reacting randomly. The meeting that went quiet, the information that traveled, the feedback that landed sideways, each of those followed a logic. Not the logic of effort and merit, the logic of how a social environment reads behavior, assigns risk, and protects the people it has already decided to protect. You were not failing at the job. You were being evaluated in a language you did not know you were speaking. That is not a personality problem. It is an information problem, and you just got the information.